All right, let's dive right in. In just the next few minutes, we're going to tackle one of the biggest challenges you'll face in Google Cloud. How do you take that absolute mountain of data your apps are producing and turn it into signals that are so clear you know exactly how your systems are doing, just at a glance? Let's do this.
Okay, so let's just start with the one question that keeps every engineer up at night. Your app is live, right? It's out there, it's serving traffic. But is it actually healthy? I mean, how do you really know? How can you be sure this very second that your users are having a good experience?
You know, when it comes to the cloud, just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best, well, that's not really a strategy, is it? The real strategy is observability. And in the world of GCP, that means cloud monitoring. This is the tool, the powerhouse, that sucks in all those metrics, events, and metadata to give you real, honest-to-goodness, actionable answers.
All right, so to really get a grip on this, we've got to start with the foundation. We're talking about two core concepts here, workspaces and metrics. Seriously, if you get these two right, everything else just kind of falls into place.
So first up, let's talk about the workspace. The best way to think about this, it's your mission control center. It really is. It's that top-level container where everything lives. All your monitoring data, all your alerts, the whole shebang. It gives you that single pane of glass you're always hearing about, so you can actually see what's going on across your entire fleet. Now listen up, because this is the absolute #1 gotta-know rule about workspaces, especially if you're studying for a certification. A single workspace can monitor a whole bunch of different GCP projects. That's what gives you that awesome organization-wide view. But, and this is the important part, any given project can only belong to one workspace. Not two, not three, just one. Burn that into your brain.
Okay, so we've got our mission control. Now what? Well, we need data, right? We need information flowing in, and that's where metrics come into play. I love this analogy. Metrics are the vital signs of your application. Think of it like a patient in a hospital. You're monitoring its pulse, its temperature, its blood pressure. These numbers tell you exactly what's happening, second by second.
And you got to run into three main types or kinds of metrics. First, you've got your gauge. That's just a snapshot in time, like looking at your car's speedometer right now. Then there's cumulative. Think of your car's odometer. It's a counter that just goes up and up and up. And finally, you have delta. This one measures the change over time, kind of like acceleration.
So why does this matter? Well, matching the right metric type to what you're measuring is absolutely crucial. Let's make it super simple. CPU utilization, that's a gauge. It's the value right now. The total number of requests your app has ever seen, that's a classic cumulative metric. But the number of requests per second? See, that's a rate of change, so that's a delta. Easy, right?
Okay, so we're collecting all this great data. That's awesome. But just having a pile of data isn't enough, right? We need something to act as our watchdogs. Tools that are actively looking for trouble and are going to tap us on the shoulder when something goes wrong.
And that brings us to uptime checks. These are your automated watchdogs, for sure. Picture a security guard doing their rounds. Every few minutes, they walk up to the front door of your service and just check the handle. They're making sure it's open for business, either by looking for a successful web response or just seeing if its specific network port is open and listening.
And here is a huge pro tip, a really common mistake people make. If your application is sitting behind a load balancer, whatever you do, do not point your uptime checks at the individual virtual machines. Why? Because those VMs are ephemeral. They come and go. Instead, you always point your check at the single stable IP address of the load balancer itself. That's the only thing that truly reflects what your users are actually experiencing.
So let's say one of those checks fails, or maybe a metric like CPU goes through the roof. What happens then? Well, that's when an alerting policy springs into action. It's a simple process, really. First, a specific condition has to be true for a certain amount of time. Once that happens, boom, a notification gets fired off to wherever you want. Slack, PagerDuty, email, you name it. And ideally, that alert comes with some documentation, a little runbook that tells the team exactly what to do next. But you know, simple threshold alerts like CPU is over 80% can get really noisy. You get a ton of false alarms. The real pro move here is to use what's called SLO-based burn rate alerting. It's a total game changer. Instead of just asking the simple yes-no question like, is it broken? It asks a much smarter question. How fast are we burning through our error budget for this month? And that context is everything. It's the difference between waking an engineer up at 3 a.m. for a real crisis versus just creating a low-priority ticket for them to look at in the morning.
Okay, so we've got our data pipeline. We've got our alerts set up to warn us when things go sideways. But
how do we tie it all together? How do we see the big picture? And, make sense of it all without digging through logs? Well, that's where dashboards come in, of course. And look, the best dashboards aren't just a random collection of charts that look pretty. The most effective ones are built around a framework that comes straight from Google's own SRE teams. It's called the 4 golden signals. If you build your main dashboard to show these 4 things, latency, traffic, errors, and saturation, you'll have an incredibly powerful at-a-glance view of your service's overall health.
And please, remember this. One size does not fit all when it comes to dashboards. Think about your audience. The super dense, highly detailed dashboard that an on-call engineer needs when they're trying to debug an outage at 2 a.m., that is completely useless to an executive who just wants a high-level green, yellow, red status. You have to tailor your visuals to the person who's going to be looking at them.
All right, let's wrap this up. I want to leave you with a few rapid-fire pro tips. These are the little things that'll save you a ton of headaches down the road. Okay, here's a scenario I see all the time. Your company has tons of different teams, dozens of projects, and someone from finance comes to you and asks, how much are we spending on monitoring for the marketing team's project? How in the world do you answer that?
The answer in almost every GCP scenario like this is labels. And I want to be super clear here. We're talking about labels, not tags. They're different things. You use these key value labels to organize your resources by team, by environment, by cost center, whatever you want. Then you can just go into your billing reports and filter by those exact labels. It's that simple.
Here's another question that trips people up all the time. When do I actually need to install a monitoring agent? Well, the rule of thumb is actually pretty simple. If you are running on old-school compute engine VMs, yes, you need to install the ops agent yourself. But for pretty much all the modern, containerized, or serverless platforms, we're talking GKE, Cloud Run, Cloud Functions, it's all built in. You don't have to do a thing.
And finally, a simple but critical operational gotcha you need to know about. So, you've SSH'd into a VM, you've made a change to the monitoring agent's configuration file.
What's the next step? You have to restart the agent service. It will not pick up those changes automatically. I can't tell you how many hours I've seen people waste troubleshooting because they forgot this one simple step. A quick service restart, and you're good to go. It's easy to forget, but it's absolutely crucial.
And that really brings us to the big takeaway here. Monitoring your app's technical health is, of course, incredibly important, but it's not really the end goal, is it? All these metrics, they're just a proxy for the health of your business. That error budget we talked about, think of it like a real budget. It's the currency of reliability. It's what you spend to be able to innovate and move fast. So the real question I'll leave you with is this. Are you just monitoring your app, or are you monitoring your budget? What is your error budget telling you right now? And are you spending it wisely?
We hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe for more Apex Insights.